Guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. So today's video is going to be my go-to everyday makeup look. To be honest, at the moment with everything going on, obviously I'm not wearing makeup every day. I usually barely look like this, so this is me on a good day at the moment, let alone with makeup on. But I thought I'd film it anyway, and I hope you enjoy. So I've just gone ahead and scraped my hair back out of the way and also moved in a little bit closer so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better. I've already done my skincare this morning, so we can go ahead and get started. The first thing I like to do is go in with my foundation. So I'm using a mixture of the EX1 and the Fenty foundations. I don't actually prime my skin just because I find that where I have combination skin, so I have dry patches in some areas and then oily patches in others, that for me just doing my skincare and then going straight in with my foundation seems to be the best result. I do find if I use primer it either ends up separating or some bits go really dry and flaky, which is obviously not cute and not what we're wanting to go for. So I go straight in with my foundation. At the moment, because I've got some fake tan on, I'm using a mixture of both. I'm not too sure what shade I am in the EX1. I can't actually see a colour. It says 950 at the bottom, which sounds quite dark, so I don't think I'm that. And then I'm using the 210 in the Fenty. So what I do is I do about 1 pump of the EX1 on the back of my hand, and then I go in with about 2 pumps of the Fenty and just mix that in. The way I find best to apply my foundation is to first go in and just apply it all over sort of this side of my face. Very technical, I know. And the reason I like to do this is I don't know if it's because of mixture of the foundations, but it tends to dry quite quickly, and I like to use a damp beauty blender to actually buff out my foundation. But I find that if I just sort of do one splodge on my face and buff that in with the beauty blender, it almost feels like it drags it across my face, which obviously no one wants streaky dragged foundations. So I like to just apply it a little bit first with my finger, because I've already got the mixture on the back of my hand and on my finger anyway. So I just use that and wipe it all across, and then I like to take my beauty blender, pick up a little bit more just before I start going in, because it is clean and it has just been damped. So I then just tap it, bounce it all over my face. I am using the Morphe beauty blender, I would imagine, or their equivalent of it. I do actually have the beauty blender, but I don't find it to be as good. I find the Morphe ones are a little bit firmer, which for me, it just seems to apply the product a little bit better. I feel like the beauty blender almost absorbs quite a lot of the products, and it does apply a sheerer coverage. But obviously if that's what you like and that's what you want to go for, then by all means. But for me, I like a heavier coverage foundation. That's just always been the way I have been. I was a dream matte mousse girl as a child, and I have slowly evolved to just still love the higher coverage foundations, because when I find the lighter ones, they just don't seem to settle on my skin well at all. They seem to separate. Maybe I've just not found the right one as yet. And then I'm just going to repeat and do the same thing on the other half of my face, and again just buffing that in. So at the moment these seem to be my favourite foundations, because the EX1 is quite glowy, and I do wear that on its own, but not too often. And then the Fenty one is quite matte, and I find that just mixing the two together seems to give me a really nice finish. I do obviously powder it and everything like that, so you're going to see that as we go along. But for me, I just find that that seems to be my go-to. Although I need to buy the EX1 in more colours, because it's really, really good, and it's only about £12. I think I got it off ASOS, and I think I ended up getting like 20% off or something. So yeah, it was only about £12, which for the foundation that I'm mixing it with, which I think is like 30 odd, they don't compare in terms of their prices, but their quality is just as nice. So I really do need to stock up some more colours, because that would probably stop me mixing them so much, because the EX1's really light, and once I have fake tan, which at the moment, even though I'm not seeing anyone, I seem to be doing regularly, more than I usually would. Not too sure why that is, but I should probably pick it up in some darker shades. But it's so hard, isn't it, when you look at foundations online to know whether it's going to be right for you. I think they might actually sell it in Boots. If they do, next time I need to go into Boots, I might just check it out and see what colour I'm going to be in it. Oh wow, I'm so sorry for my hair today, guys. It's not doing the best, is it? You can tell it's a Sunday that I'm filming this. So yeah, sorry about that. Sorry if I keep looking down. I've got a mirror in front of me as well because my makeup desk is actually over there, but the lighting there is not good. So decided to move myself and perch in front of the window because that's where the lighting seems to be best. But it then means that I've not got my usual setup. I have actually just gone and clipped up my hair a little bit because it was getting in the way and it was getting quite annoying. So now my foundation has been applied by the Beauty Blender. I like to just go in with a dry foundation brush. I'm using the Jaclyn Hill Morphe brush set, and to be honest, it is my absolute favourite. I've had a lot of makeup brushes in my time, but I love this set. It comes with a box, so it's so handy to travel with. It has got everything in there that you could possibly need and more. So you never feel like you're gonna need to take extra brushes with you, or that potentially you're carrying too many. Obviously you can take out whatever ones you don't need, but yeah, I'm absolutely loving that set and would definitely recommend picking them up if you are looking for some new brushes. So I like to just, I don't know why I do this all the time, but I do like to just buff it out. I suppose just to make sure there's no sort of bits that I may have missed with the Beauty Blender, or that there's no streaks or sort of patches where there's too much foundation. So I like to just go ahead with that, sort of buff it all in. Then what I like to do is set my face all over. I'm using the Airspun translucent powder. Again, I find this does the job perfectly. I just get it off Amazon, to be honest. And what I like to do is take my damp Beauty Blender and use sort of the angled side to push that in under my eyes. And to be honest, I set my whole face this way and using the same powder. I know a lot of people like to use different powders all over their face, and a lot of people like to use concealer, but for me, I don't feel like I need concealer. So I just push this in all over my face, and I like to control sort of how much I put on and where. So naturally I put more under my eyes to prevent creasing, and on my chin and my forehead, because again, those are my sort of more oily spots. So the more powder I put on, obviously the more oils it's going to keep at bay. And then I just do the rest of my face a little bit more lighter and just sort of drag it across. I don't really matter if I've got doesn't really matter if I've got too much powder on my face, because I do, once I've left this for a few minutes, just go in with a big powder brush anyway and sweep off all the excess. As you can see, I have now applied the powder all over my face. If I lean in, you can probably see I've probably got half of it in my lash extensions. I've got a little bit extra powder still under my eyes, and what I like to then do is grab the big powder brush from the Jaclyn Hill brush set and just sort of buff and flick, if that makes any sense at all. So you're obviously flicking away all the excess powder, but at the same time buffing it in to make sure that your whole face is set. And once you feel like you've done your whole face, I then just go ahead, sorry, I've got hair in my face, and take a smaller brush and go from the inner corner of my eye out, and there I don't do any buffing. I just do sort of a sweeping motion and then use any excess powder just to go over my eyelids and sort of around my nose, where the bigger brush may not be able to get into so much. And yeah, that is all the powder brushed off. So the next thing I like to do is go in and contour my nose. To be honest, I don't do this every time. It sort of depends how I feel. A lot of the time I just take my sort of bronzer brush, my contour brush, and just run it over my nose anyway. I like to use like a small angled eyeshadow brush. And what I use to contour my nose is a Illamasqua eyeshadow in the shade Heroin. I think it was years and years ago, Nikki Tutorials actually used this as a contour because she's quite fair and pale. she used this as her contour colour, and for me, I find that on my nose it just creates that perfect sort of shadow without being too intense. I do apply powder over it, and I will show you afterwards how I do that, but I go in very, very lightly, because obviously you do not want heavy streaks of brown powder down your nose. And I don't do it necessarily to make it obvious, I just try and enhance that part of my nose to try and make it look a little bit narrower. To be honest, my nose is probably one of my least favourite parts of my face. Not that you should ever feel that way about yourselves, but for me, I'd never get a nose job, but my nose is just not one of my favourite features at all. So anything I can do to make myself feel a little bit better about it is what I will do. And then I just take a fluffier brush. This is what I actually use to contour, and I just sort of drag from where I've just powdered out, so you're not bringing it towards nose, which is where you want it to be highlighted. You're dragging it down the side of the nose, and I just buff and sort of sweep and just try and blend it out a little bit to make it a little bit softer. And as you can see, that probably made quite a bit of difference, but I only do it very, very lightly. And then what I like to do is go over the top with my Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Airbrush Finish powder in shade 2, which is medium, and the same beauty blender that I use. So I use the bit that I use my foundation on, I just sort of tap it in, it is running low, and then again just dab that over the top of my nose and my T-section, because that is where I get oiliest, so it adds the tiniest bit of coverage, but it really just helps smooth out your skin. I know it's quite an expensive powder, to be honest. It's been quite a while since I actually purchased it, so I can't remember how much it was exactly, but it's definitely worth it, and I will rebuy it when it eventually runs out. Now I have contoured my nose, the next thing I like to do is bronze my face. So I'm using a mixture of MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. I believe it's in a shade dark, so I think this is actually a face powder, but I picked it up from the cosmetic company, like the outlet makeup shop, a while back, and I use it as a bronzer, so it works. And then I use the Makeup Forever Pro Fusion bronzer in the shade, it doesn't say, so I like to use a mixture of those, because the Makeup Forever one is quite warm toned, I'd say, and then the MAC one is quite orange. So when I'm fake tan, these are really, really good, but when I'm fair, by all means they don't work for me at all. But these are my go-to bronzers, so I like to just tap into both, get a mixture on there, and then pull back my hair on my cheek a little bit and just very lightly just go back and forth. You're always better off obviously applying less to start off with and then going in with more. And then I almost do like a M on my hairline to bring it down a little bit more in the centre, and then up around the top. And then, to be honest, I just keep repeating that until I'm at the bronze level that I'm wanting to be at, which is probably about there, because I do then go in with contour on top anyway, so you don't want to go in super, super heavy with bronzer. To start off with, always start closer to your ear and then drag it down towards your mouth. And again, I'm just using the bronzer brush that comes in the Jaclyn Hill set. And I have actually got a bronzer brush from Tom Ford, which is nigh on identical. Wow, I'm so sorry for my hair. Which is nigh on identical to this, and I always find myself gravitating towards this more, because actually the Tom Ford one is really, really, really fluffy. So sometimes if you bronze your face, it doesn't just do the contours of your cheeks, it ends up doing a majority of your face in one go, which if that's what you want to do, then go for it. But I'm not quite about that life, so I just also run a little bit under my jawline and down my neck, just to make sure it's all sort of blended nicely. And like I said, once the brush is sort of pretty much clean and it's all come off, just go over my nose also, just to make sure you're really helping that contour that you have put on blend in. Once I've bronzed, I like to then go in with my contour palette. I'm using the Kat Von D Shade and Light. To be honest, it's probably the oldest contour palette in the world, but it's still going strong for me, and I use such a little amount of it that it just seems to last forever. It's probably way past its like use by sell by date, but it doesn't cause me any issues for now, so I'll keep using it until I have a reason not to. And then again, I like to just sort of pinch my hairline here and pull it up to my ear a little bit, just to make it a little bit tighter so that my contour is a little bit smoother, because if I don't, I just prefer doing it this way, to be honest. So I tap off any excess and then just always work from closest to your ear and then slowly buff it out towards the sort of corner of your mouth. Obviously it does depend on your face shape as to sort of how contour works the best, but for me personally, this is what I find works better for me, and I like to keep it a lot more concentrated towards my ear and then slowly bring it out, because you want it to be more intense. You don't want to have this big brown streak sort of across your face. So, as you can probably see, this side's not got any contour on it, this side has, and it does just make a massive difference. And what I also like to do, oh my god, I'm so sorry for my hair, guys, take a shot every time I keep saying that in this video at the moment, is just run it along the top of my forehead and again down my nose and just under my jaw. To be honest, there's never anything left at this point, but I like to just do it anyway. It's one of those habits that I don't think I'll ever stop doing. And then just go back in with your contour palette and do the same on the other side. So, fun fact, I did actually study theatrical and media makeup, I believe was the course that I studied. So it was a level 3 diploma in theatrical and media makeup and hair. So I do have some experience in makeup, but a lot of it is just self-taught and through YouTube, which I know is pretty much how everyone does it now. And I do feel like the makeup industry is just so saturated because everyone and their mum seems to like doing makeup, which is amazing because it's such an art form, I think. But that's why I just never chose to pursue it as a career, because it just does feel like it is just such a difficult market to get into. So I've now finished up with my contouring, and what I like to do next is go in with my highlight. Now I use 2 highlights on a daily basis, sometimes 3 if I'm feeling a bit extra. I like to first go in with the Bobbi Brown Highlighting Afternoon Glow, and then I follow it up with the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Breezy highlighter. I absolutely love this highlighter. I was so afraid to use it, and to be honest, considering I use it every day, it barely looks used, which just makes me so happy because I don't know if they sell it anymore. But if you can get your hands on it, I would highly recommend. And then this is the Bobbi Brown, so just using the highlight brush again from the Jaclyn Hill makeup set, and then just picking up, swirling my brush round in there, tap off the excess, and again pull my hair out the way. And I like to just sort of back and forth here slowly, and then eventually bring it down to my cheeks, and then create a C by going underneath my brows. And I sort of just keep building it up until I've got as much highlight on there as I would like. And then I just sort of run it down my nose, and then circle it on the tip. And then I like to, just where my eyes are, just run it across sideways there. So again, trying to keep my nose looking a little bit more pinched, if that's possible. I call it my makeup nose job. And that's what I like to do with my nose. And then go ahead and just repeat on the other side. So again, move my hair out of the way, sort of back and forth to start off with. Can't really see it this side. Back and forth to start off with. Do a C around the brow bone, and slowly bring a little bit down my cheeks. And again, not a lot of people like to put highlighter on the cheeks, so it's completely personal preference, but this is just what I find work for me. A little bit on the top lip. For some reason I like to put a little bit on my chin, which when you have oily skin probably is not the best idea, but that's what I like to do. And then I literally just go ahead and do the same thing with the Anastasia highlight. This one, hopefully you're going to be able to pick up on camera the difference that it makes. So hopefully you can see that. I do go a little bit more sparingly with this one, to be honest, because a little seems to go a long way, and being lit up like a disco ball is just not what you want to do on an everyday basis. I mean, if you do, then don't let me stop you, but yeah, I don't want to be blinding my colleagues on a Zoom call if I bother to make the effort of putting makeup on for them. So that is my highlight done, and then I do actually like to come back to my highlight, so I keep that out and then I put my blusher on and then I come back in with my highlighter. So after my highlight is my blush. I like to use the Milani blush in number 2, which is Rose D'Ora. Wow, you can tell that anything other than English is not a strong point of mine. So I just, again, using another brush from Jaclyn Hill. It's quite a fluffy one. I used to use a lot more denser brush to do my blusher, but I've sort of found that recently I gravitate towards using more of a fluffy brush because it applies it just a little bit lighter, and I feel like you've got more control with it. So I sort of do some weird little smile and apply it to the apples of my cheeks and then just drag it back. And I actually like to apply this everywhere that I would apply my bronzer. Don't ask me why. I just find that it adds a little bit of warmth to my face. And sometimes I go a bit heavy-handed with blush. That's one thing I always find I struggle with, is that I just don't seem to apply it very well. And sometimes I go too far in with it. So to be honest, blush is always what makes or breaks how my makeup actually looks that day. Like I said, just apply it everywhere I would with bronzer. So a little bit down my chin and neck and chest, above the tops, on my nose. It especially in the winter, it gives you that sort of nice flushed rosy glow, which I really like, because naturally I don't go rosy at all. So like I said, what I actually like to do is go back in with my highlights and just go over what I've already done, because sometimes the blusher can blend that out a little bit, which I like because it makes it softer, but sometimes you just want to reapply that pop back on it. So I only go back in with the Anastasia one and literally just reapply it. I don't know if you can see the difference that that's making. Just reapply it to tops my cheekbones. Sometimes I will like go in and reapply my highlighter like 3 or 4 times. I'll do it after my blusher. Well, I'll do it first and then I'll apply it again after my blusher. And then another thing that I like to do is just go back in with my bronzer brush and like blend it all together. I don't know if that's a bit odd, but I find that the sort of the bronziness of my bronzer, believe it or not, then just mixes well with the blusher and the highlighter, and it seems to sort of help. And then just using the same brush, no extra product, just sort of go back over my highlight, and that is my sort of base face makeup pretty much done. Now, as you can tell, I am pretty fair and I do tint my eyebrows once a week, and they are due for tinting again tonight, hence the lack of brows. So I like to just fill them in. I'm using a NYX eyebrow cake powder in the shade Taupe. It's very, very well loved, as you can probably see, but I sort of do a mix of the 2 colours. I always start off at the arch and I always go in very, very lightly, but I find that if you start at the arch, you get a majority of the powder on your brush and you can sort of shape out your brow. Especially for me, that's where I seem to have the least hair, well, least hair all over, and to be honest, so I apply as much powder as I sort of want. Some days my brows go really dark, and some days my brows are quite fair, so I think it just depends on how heavy-handed I'm being with the powder. And then I like to just sort of draw a line underneath my brow. If I come in a little bit closer for you guys, a line underneath my brow, and then start flicking it upwards. So I always work outwards in, because naturally you want less product and you want your brows to be softer on the inner corner and darker on the outer corner. And then just use a spoolie. I think this is just a really, really old makeup geek eyeshadow or eyebrow. There you go, dual-ended brow brush. But I find this one's really good because it's not really dense and it's got a lot of flexibility to it. So it doesn't actually pick up loads of product and it applies it quite sparingly. So for me, this is just my go-to everyday look. Sometimes I will use a brow pencil, but that very, very easily for me can go very, very dark and very heavy too quickly. With the brow powder, I've just got a little bit more control. And especially if I'm in a rush, naturally you're going to be a bit heavier handed. So I've just gone ahead and done the same thing the other side. Don't forget, eyebrows are sisters, not twins. I think mine are quite dodgy. I did have them microbladed about 2 years ago, and I do need to get them redone, but obviously with everything going on at the moment, that isn't an option, and I need to decide where else to get them done. So if anyone knows of any good brow people in the sort of Berkshire, anywhere area, to be honest, I'm happy to travel to get my brows done because it's so important to me, then do let me know. And yeah, that is now my brows complete. As you may be able to tell, I have actually got eyelash extensions, although I don't know how much longer I will, and you'll probably see over the videos that they slowly get less and less. But I do have eyelash extensions, so I like to just go ahead and give them a quick little brush out, just to sort of scrape out any powders that may have fallen in there. To be honest, once I've done my makeup, I'm a little bit odd. I like to try and awkwardly wash my lashes just to make sure that there's no makeup residue sort of unnecessarily sitting on them, because I remember once I was watching Towie, and I can't remember what girl it was on Towie, but she looked down and her lashes were just like clogged with makeup, where they'd obviously done her makeup and they'd got like foundation and powder and it was just all sitting on her lashes, and I just sat there and thought, oh no, like, is that what mine look like? So now I'm extremely conscious of making sure that I don't have any like powders or as little in there as possible. Obviously it's naturally going to happen, they're going to catch the powders, aren't they? So that's one thing I'm just really conscious of. I did actually apply some lip balm before I started, but that's all come off now, so my lips are quite soft. I don't know if anyone else is finding it, but in the cold weather my lips are just splitting and chapping constantly. So I applied a little bit of lip balm, but that is now all off, and I'm going to be going in with my lip liner. So I'm using the NYX lip liner in Soft Brown. I really love this. I find this is really similar to MAC's lip liner in Spice, I believe. So it's a really, really good dupe, and I actually find I use this more than MAC. I do find that when I find a product like the X1 foundation and it's cheaper, I find myself using it a lot more often. I think because I feel less guilty using it because it costs less money. I don't mind using it as much. So this is my go-to every day, and I won't talk when I do my lip liner because that could go very, very wrong. So that is my lip liner done, and then next I'm going in with the Kylie Cosmetics matte liquid lipstick in the shade Chloe. I think it was part of the Cocoa collection, I'm not too sure. Again, I have not ordered from Kylie Cosmetics in the longest time, so this is probably way past its use by date, but again, it's not going to stop me, and it's nearly empty, which actually makes me quite sad because I swear by the Kylie Cosmetics liquid lipsticks and also the Huda Beauty ones. I usually switch up which one I use on a daily basis, especially depending on how tanned I am. I like to use the Huda Beauty one in the shade that I've got. I think I've got it in the shade Bombshell. I like to use that when I'm slightly less tan because this one is quite dark. That is my lipstick complete. Just give that a second to dry, and then I'm going to go over the top with a Nars lip gloss in the shade Pre, I believe. And again, I can't remember how long I've had this. I found this in my makeup collection, still in its box. So it is theoretically new, but it's that old I can't remember when I bought it. So I don't know, again, if I should be using it. So if my lips do fall off, then hey ho, it's worth it. And what I like to do with my lip gloss is apply it where I've applied my lip liner. So basically edge my lips with it and then apply a little bit extra to the centre. I don't know if anyone's like me, but I always get lip gloss and lipstick on my teeth. So try and keep it as far away from them as I can. And I just find that for me personally, putting on the outer edge of your lips makes it look a lot plumper, and you don't need to I don't like the feeling of having lip gloss all over my lips. And to be honest, I don't usually always wear lip gloss every day. It just depends how I'm feeling, but at the moment I seem to be gravitating towards wearing lip gloss a little bit more. So the final thing that I like to do is go in with my Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. To be honest, I think this is the key, and I feel like there's no point me even bothering doing my makeup if I don't use this, because when I do, it just makes the biggest difference. I do use a lot of powders, so it settles my makeup in a lot nicer, and they feel like they all sort of seem to blend and sit on my skin a lot nicer than they do if I don't use it. And just the lasting quality of my makeup when I use this just makes such a difference. So I'm quite generous and just spray it all over, and then I like to let that sit and dry for a minute or two. I like to make my skin quite wet because that is when I find that I get the best results. So don't worry, I won't stay looking like this forever. And that concludes my everyday makeup look. So guys, that goes ahead and concludes my everyday makeup routine. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do give me a like, comment, subscribe. Anything you can do to support me would mean a lot, and I will make sure to link as many products in the description bar as I can find, and I will see you guys on the next one.